Have you ever made a game? If you have, you know that it's not an easy feat. It takes knowledge of game design, programming, an engine, art, sound, and more. Have you ever participated in a game jam? If you have, you know that it's using all that knowledge to make something that other people can play in a short period of time. In December, I participated in a game jam solo and won. I created Mr. F and the Wand of Moltus, a 2D platformer with a quirky narrator who is also the enemy of the main character. If you want to learn more about my process that won that jam, you're in the right place. For the people who don't know, a game jam is an event where participants make a game in a set amount of time. Usually there's a theme of the jam that is announced right when it starts. This gives criteria that serves two functions. It gives the creators a vague idea of what creative direction to take the game that they create, but it also creates a barrier for people who want to just submit an already complete project. If a project doesn't fit the theme, it'll struggle to do well in the ratings phase. The ratings phase is a time period after submission that allows people to rate the games. On itch.io, many people who host jams only allow those who participated in the jam to rate games. Anyways, now that you know what a jam is, let's talk about my game. At the end of 2021, I participated in Xeno Jam 4. The theme that was announced was I Am Everywhere. For anyone new to game jams, this is the best part. Now, a lot of people will deliver a game with a unique take on that theme. My immediate idea was a puzzle-based 2D platformer where the main mechanic was using clones of the player to solve puzzles. I've done a few game jams before, and one thing I've learned is scope creep is the easiest thing to let happen in these things. So I planned my game out very intentionally. I decided that I would come up with an idea that I believe is small in scope, and once I'm finished planning, cut the scope of that in half. This way, I could focus on polish for the game. Making the game look and feel nice was a huge priority for me. I've done a few jams where I'm still working on mechanics on the last day. This is where I didn't do as well as I would have liked. The rules for the jam were fairly simple. Most of the work in the game must be done in the jam's time limit. You were allowed to use outside code and assets, so I did. I wanted to focus on the actual gameplay experience as fast as possible, so I started out with my 2D platformer kit. The link for that is in the description. It gave me basic movement, jumping, and animation control for my character. I ended up stripping most of the other features out because I only wanted my character to run, jump, and interact with things. Once I had that imported, I wanted to design my character. This would help me get the overall story of the game I was creating, so I made a frog. Once I created him, the entire story came to me instantly. It was simple and cliche, but it's a game jam, so I didn't dwell on it too much. So the story is about a frog named Mr. F whose wife is stolen by an evil toad. The toad is in possession of a wand named Moltus, which is Latin for many. He uses the wand to clone Mr. F and runs away with his wife. It turns out Mr. F can control the clones in order to solve puzzles to get Mrs. F. If I had to give a breakdown of the percentage of time spent on this jam, I'd say that 25 to 30% was spent on creating the main mechanic of the game, the dialogue system, and designing the levels. The rest of the time was spent polishing and creating builds and playtesting the game. This was the most helpful part, to be honest. By the time the jam was over, I created 12 builds for the game before submitting. On top of that, I created a thumbnail and designed the jam page early in the jam, so I didn't have to worry about that when I was submitting. Essentially, I didn't want that stereotypical jam finish I've had before, giving myself 1 hour to create a title screen, create a jam page, and build the game for the first time. I'm sure if you've done a jam before, you've had that struggle. Also, I was able to playtest the game more than any game I've created for a jam. I probably played through the end of the level over 100 times when it was all said and done. This helped me find key bugs that would have hampered the play experience. Let's talk about polish. The music for the game was a big plus and everyone thought it was great. I used music from opengameart.com. Between different parts of the game, I changed songs where there was a change of pace, which I believe improved the experience. I used screen shake in the opening cutscene, when the player resets, and at the final battle area. I used particle effects on the Wand of Moltus. I created a dialogue system that shows the character who is speaking. I made sound effects for most actions and interactions in the game. If there's anything to take away from this, I believe that when it comes to game jams, most of the time spent should be on polish. I know this wasn't an in-depth technical breakdown, but in my opinion, that wouldn't be much help. This video was more about how good time management gives you time to make a good game in a jam. If building mechanics takes a majority of the game jam, you leave less room for polish, simplicity, and playtesting. And on top of that, you leave more room for assumptions that people will understand your game as well as you do, clunkiness, and bugs. So finish mechanics early and give your game some juice. If you have any questions or feedback on the game itself, please join the Discord and shoot a message. The link is in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time.